Call this meeting of the Toledo City Council for September 17, 2024 to order. This is a virtual meeting. The City Council will hold the meeting in the council and staff in person as well as through Zoom video meeting platform. Public is encouraged to attend the meeting electronically. Visit the meetings page on the city website for meeting login information. All right. First item is Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Councilor Mix.
Here.
Councilor Kaufman.
Here.
Councilor Strong.
Present.
Councilor Sylvia.
Here.
Councilor Burns.
Yes.
Council President Bush.
Here.
And I am here. We have all seven. All right, we have only one item on tonight. Decision item, consideration of a 99-year lease with Northwest Coastal Housing. Go ahead, Mike.
Mayor, Council President, City Council. This lease came before you on February 15th, 2023. Since then, Northwest Coastal Housing has provided some amendments by Brian Gasso, their attorney at Lewis and Clark Business Law Clinic. I've also added paragraphs 4.6 and 4.7 dealing with the House bill that we previously talked about, as well as he's added as well as 4.8, but he wanted added, following up on our last discussion, 4.7 sub C, saying that if the affordability requirements contained in the House bill are determined to not permit low-income households below 60, that would, and they sought repayment, that we'd be on the hook. Per the House bill, they're on the hook. That I per the House bill and per the paragraph 4.6, they have to let's see which paragraph. 4.7 sub A, they have to repay it if the units aren't developed or the affordability isn't maintained. And that limitation is the timeline is consistent with Article 4.6 sub A. Tenant will consistent with Article 2.11 of this lease. Tenant will construct a minimum of 30 housing units, which will occur before the latter of 36 months after the completion of the infrastructure project, or 60 months after the disbursement of the infrastructure grant. So this is good timing. We get the lease, we can get the money from Business Oregon to start. I think Doug has already had talk to Brian some, talk to the engineer about looping the water line out there.
Yes.
To increase the water pressure. I don't know that there's an estimate that's been made, but so basically they'll have 36 months after the completion or within 60 months of the disbursement of the grant. So
can I ask a question and point for clarification? Yeah. So they did an addendum, they changed it and they're asking us to accept it, saying that if for some reason after we get the grant that Oregon decides that, oh, you shouldn't have got the grant, they want the city on the hook for that, not them.
Well, and it says that if they fail to keep it at or below.
But then they would have to pay it back.
No, it says the landlord shall assume full responsible for payment repayment.
which is us.
Where are you reading?
That is in subsection C, last sentence it says. If households that are below 60% AMI, thereby causing the state of Oregon seeks repayment of the infrastructure grant pursuant to HB 4134, section.
Yeah,
subsection
that's
E.
what they've added. So they're saying if,
If they go default, we have to pay it back.
no, not exactly. Counselor, they're saying that if, the status quo is, you start from the standpoint that we get the money. We have 36, we do the improvements to the road. They have 36 months from when those improvements are done, or 5
6
years
from the time we get
from
the,
the time we get the money. So we're on clock too.
right,
And if that timeline is not met, if they don't build their 30 units in that timeline, they have to repay it. But he put in a clause that if in the event that the state comes back and says, no, you can't go to 60, it has to be 80 to 120, that we're gonna eat the cost of the road improvements. That we're gonna be responsible for repaying the state.
I'm just not comfortable with
and at
that.
that point, I'm gonna fly back from Hawaii and I'm gonna go make a whole bunch of people in Salem eat their words.
In what case scenario would they potentially do something like that? Come back and say,
I don't know, you just imagine state agencies are kind of run loose sometimes, in my experience, and you get somebody that decides, you get somebody in an audit in the future that says, oh, this House bill references this, and
make a name for themselves?
yeah, try and recoup the money.
So it has to remain in that 80%, 60% category for as long as it's operating?
Northwest Coastal Housing's 30 units are gonna all be 60% or below. 60% AMI. Below adjusted median income. Their funding is dependent on that. And part of his concern was that we would, if that changed. He didn't want us to say, we'll take the grant. And regardless. And then they're gonna lose out on $300,000 a unit on their low income housing. For 9 units in exchange for our, that's what he didn't want to do.
Right.
So
My question was, is this for the length of the lease? Or 99-year?
I think the limit,
In those category,
I believe the limit on that part of it is
30
30
years.
years.
30 years, okay.
yeah,
They're okay with that,
Yes.
okay.
I'm so glad I don't know really.
and on the exhibit, I added the most recent plat that shows the nice little.
But we could still rent to force housing at the 80, but the majority has to be 60.
No,
No, okay, so they're funding.
Yeah.
So this is why I was upfront with everybody. It's low income housing. It's not workforce housing. Well, because around here, that is low income that's workforce housing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But by national definition.
But by national definition, it's not. Part that you can't get through to Salem is that we are in our own little island out here on the coast. Okay. Their funding, they get about $300,000 a unit in funding to build if it's at that 60.
More or less.
Okay, they lose all that if they go above that.
Okay.
so if they try to do workforce housing and say you have to come in between the 80 to 100% of adjusted median income in this region, then they're gonna lose their
We have no interest in doing that.
No,
Okay.
no, but that's part of the
But then
reason why he put that clause.
Protect
That's
that
what
housing.
clause is in there, is to
Yeah, it
protect
says that
them.
if we do,
Them.
And
we're paying it.
if the state
what that
wants to play hardball, fortunately, I know how to do that.
And I think if there's a memo, we're probably good.
Well, it's not just that we have a memo, and I don't care who watches this. I'm sorry, national news would love to hear about the state saying you can't do low-income housing because blah, 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 blah. And I will make sure everybody and their grandmother knows which state agency and who in that state agency is making this.
And this will be in effect again for the 30+ years, right? 30 years. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, the 60%
Yeah.
AMI will be in effect for 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's in the,
I do have a question though too.
it's 2.1.1 paragraph. That's where, yes.
Page 8 of 26, 5.1, subsection B. I don't know if I'm just reading this wrong, but it looks like if they want to do any kind of exterior or structural component changes of any building, they have to get approval from the city first
Cause it's our land.
and give us 30 days. Like if they were to tear something down, it would take a lot longer than 30 days to be able to get all that, wouldn't it? That's just my concern that it seems to be short.
Well, it's to protect us for probably the best way I can put it is, say Northwest Coastal Housing goes up and whoever that gets it assigned to in this time period of this lease just decides, I'm gonna tear down the buildings.
Well, what I mean is I don't think that, to me, it doesn't seem 30 days is long enough.
Oh,
Like,
no,
we have to do some type of.
because all they have to do,
investigation.
but it's the notification. That's all that talks about.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's not the whole.
No, it's not the whole case. It's just they have 30 days to notify us.
Okay. Then I was reading it wrong.
We have 30 days after the receipt of the plans to approve it.
I was just concerned that if they're only given 30 days for us to make a decision on this without
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no,
investigations of anything. Okay, good enough.
I'm tracking. No, and one thing that we did change, you'll note, it's the lease says or assigns, or permitted assigns, we gonna approve it, but Northwest Coastal Housing plans, like all of their developments, to put it in the separate LLC.
Yep.
Where Northwest Coastal Housing will be the sole member.
Yep.
Is my understanding.
So is the one thing we have to fill in the blanks on the 99-year dollar?
Yeah.
Call it at $1 plus. I think that it would be wise if we put it $99, $1 plus any liens that have been attached. Yeah, any liens have been incurred. So is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the 99-year lease with Northwest Coastal Housing and delegate Mayor Cross the authority to execute the lease on behalf of the city.
And delegate the city attorney to make that change.
And delegate the city attorney to make that change.
Second. Second.
All right, it's been moved by Frank, seconded by Jackie to approve the 99-year lease with Northwest Coastal Housing and delegate Mayor Cross the authority to execute the lease on behalf of the city and delegate City Attorney Adams to make the changes to the 99-year lease. All those in favor, signify by raising your right hand.
She did.
All opposed,
Hey, it's on the right side of the dice.
motion carries 7-0.
Right over there. And they're so bad.
Anything else anything else for the good of the order today?
Just remember tomorrow night's Rip City 4 to 6 down at the turnaround by the railroad museum.
And one other thing, I messaged Rod that I wanted to try and look for a grant for a camera speedometer thing put up right there at 10th and Sturdivant so we can start nailing these semis for blowing through stop signs. I've watched them really run people over because they just do not come to a stop. He said I needed to bring it to all you guys before I.
Right, we just need, are we okay with us going out for that, like letting a counselor do that?
We're grand, yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
It all
Okay, there we
falls
go.
along the safe routes to schools. So
Yeah.
And come talk to us
Yep.
Justin will help you.
Yeah. I'll come in and talk to you guys sometime next week.
Yeah.
All right. Are we good?
Yeah,
So.
Blessing has been given.
sounds good to me.